Hi guys, it's Sunday. I'm CJ. Today we are talking about tattoos. For me, it's probably the only form of permanence that I'm like remotely comfortable with at all. As a younger person, tattoos and piercings were like this thing that I had that was, you know, this is so like John Green teen novel, but like they were the way that I had to control aspects of my body that I didn't maybe have any other control over. So I got my first tattoo when I was 16 and a half. From a relatively sketchy place in my hometown who didn't check IDs and didn't really care. And I had been saving up for my first job and then decided that this was what I was going to do. So I got my friends to come hold my hand. And because of that, I now have a Yorkshire rose on my left shoulder in a cross. Which, you know, the thing about my tattoos that I've found is that I probably wouldn't get many of them again. You know, like if I was like a blank canvas now and was kind of like working out what tattoos I wanted to get, I probably wouldn't go for the ones that I have. But I kind of like that. I like that I have a tattoo that's of, you know, when I was 16 and stupid and kind of trying for this ownership of my body. And I've always been really into this idea of, even if I don't like the tattoo at the end of it, like the meaning that I've given to it, like I'm very into, it's kind of changing a little bit. I was very serious when I was younger. I was a lot more serious than I am now. And I guess that's, you know, it's like a tattoo must have meaning and I must have thought it through and I must have like conceptions of it and ideas of it. And now I'm a little bit more like, you know what, like if it makes you happy, then do it. So yeah, I mean, I've spent the past nearly 15 years being tattooed, and I've kind of gotten like one every 2 years of varying sizes. So for instance, this one, which I'll put a link down there for the artist who designed the fox and the wildcat. She's amazing. And then I have the constellation of Orion. Like everything that I have on me kind of means something to me. So like Orion is a big deal because in my parents' house that they've sold, I can't pick out the plough, which is like the constellation everybody can pick out, but I can pick out Orion pretty much anywhere. And my parents' gatepost at certain times in the year would just perfectly frame Orion in the sky. And so Orion has always been kind of this thing. And then there's a band, an Irish band called Bell X1, and they have a song lyric, which is, I want to shine in the eye of Orion, but I drove my soul right through the black hole. She said that's a wonderful way to wake me. And I'm going to put a link to that song down there as well, because if you want a song that'll just kind of make and ruin your life at the same time, like as far as I'm concerned, Bell X1 are where it's at. And I guess it was just, I have a lot of these symbols and a lot of these things that just kept appearing, kept cropping up, kept turning up every once in a while. And so then I got them inked. So, you know, I have a nautical cross here, which like your left-hand side is connected to your heart. And I've always kind of felt like my heart has been a little bit lost, and my sense of direction, and I don't always trust myself, and so that's kind of significant. Here, I mean, this is awkward to do, but this is actually a line, it's again to do with the Bell X1 song, kind of, called Beautiful Madness, but it's actually a line from Jack Kerouac's On the Road, which I get is, you know, the most hipster piece of literature, but I don't care, because it's the description. It says, mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved. And in Kerouac, he's talking about, you know, the only people for him are these people. And the passage is really beautiful. And when I read that book, you know, I read that book like a lot of people do when I was like 18, 19, something like that. And it just, the loneliness in it and the lostness of this human being kind of really hit me. And so I did have that like teen awakening for like, oh my God, this is the sort of literature that I'm into. I have an on the back of my neck, which is not the sort of, it's just the Sanskrit letter. Like now I probably wouldn't get that done. I got that done because I've always, in everything, science and religion and theology and everything like that, there is this conception that the world started with a sound, and it was either a sound or a word or something like that. And the arm to my understanding of my reading, and I'm going to have to apologise here because this is like the most awkward white kid explanation of someone else's culture, is the only letter that really expresses that. And it's beautiful, and I thought it would be a lovely thing to have, and it is, like, I love the tattoo. Now I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't get it because now I know more about things like cultural appropriation and like I don't have the right to it, which, you know, I was like 20 when I got that done. And so I don't really have a defense of it. I still think it's a lovely piece of art, and I still think that the actual shapes of it are lovely, but, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have it done. Then on the base of my spine, I have an ambigram, and the ambigram is fire and water that reads the same both ways. Because they're my two components that make me up, I guess. And actually, weirdly, like, you know, I was talking to my friend about this a while ago. I feel like tattoos are actually one of those ways that I kind of came out to myself a little bit more. I went through this period where I really hated the fact that I had tattoos and like investigated how to get rid of all of them and the cheapest ways to do it. Because I was just like, I just don't want to be a girl that has tattoos. This isn't a thing that I want. And I think then I started to realise that the issue was the girl, not the tattoos. And so now this kind of relationship that I have with them is like developed and it's changed. And so I do like them a lot more. And I do want more. You know, I think that body art is that way to reclaim yourself. And I get that people don't like them, and I get that people have different tastes and different ideas. And I get really angry actually when people talk about, you know, oh, like, look at these trans guys, like, they're covered in tattoos, because, you know, they are really, like, I think tattoos are weirdly one of those prevalent things among our people in a way that I don't know why, but I suppose that psychologically I maybe understand why. And so it really bothers me when people are very critical of other people's tattoos, because, you know, I've done it. I've looked at other people's tattoos and gone, like, I wouldn't get that. But, like, who cares? Who cares if I'd get that? Because that person obviously doesn't, because they're owning their own body and they're doing what they want for them. So I am super in favour of tattoos in general. I do want more. I think I'm really toying with the idea of I'd quite like a sleeve on this side. And I don't have any tattoos that have any colour, because I was always very wary about colour. And I think maybe my next ones, I'd like to get sailors, sparrows here, because half of my family are fishermen and they were sailors, and the sea has always been like one of those really big things to me. And I think I might get those in colour. And I like the idea of I think sleeves look really attractive. I think they're really nice. But yeah, I get it. I get the inspiration behind claiming stuff and doing things that make you happy and doing things for you. And that's always been my driving focus with it. So, you know, like, would I get the same ones again? Probably not. I'd put more thought or I'd do more stuff. But then, you know, I like that they are a reminder of who I was then, good and bad. And that, you know, the world has changed and I've changed. But I talk about this all the time, about this fact of, like, I don't feel like I have a fractured identity. I feel like who I am now has come from the place of who I was then. And for me, my tattoos tell that story. They tell the story of who I was and where I was going. And, you know, damn anybody who says anything against them, because, like, I don't care. If you like my tattoos, then obviously it's flattering, but it's a little bit like someone going, like, I don't like your haircut. I'm like, okay. I don't really give a shit. I don't. And giving a shit about other people's opinions, I probably should do it a little bit more. But I'm sort of over that. I'm over this trend at the moment of, like, living my life through and via other people, when actually there's just points where you have to turn around and go, like, no, this is me, this is mine, and this is what I'm doing. So, yeah, you know, tattoos for me are just this way of being empowered and of being who I am on the outside while I fix some of the other stuff on the outside. Yeah, let's talk ink. What have you got? What do you want? What did you used to want? What are you glad you didn't? I do remember vividly as a younger person wanting a giant, like, heraldic unicorn. And I'm glad I didn't get that. I'm really glad I didn't get it. There, I've had tattoo ideas where I've been like, now I just think, you know what? No, shouldn't have done it. So, yeah, like, do you guys have tattoos? What's your take on them? Do you like them? Do you want more? Do you want none? Do you have any regrets?